We're going to have to cut this section out because it's too weird. Let's go for a different transition to say things I'm still mad about. Sidekicks in 80s kids cartoons.
Sidekicks in 80s kids cartoons. So tell me, all right, so I'm going to put on my therapy glasses, and you're going to lie down there on your long couch, on your chaise lounge.
But the thing is, I'm not the only one who's mad about this.
Oh, but
I am the most emotional about it, though.
This is your bit. I've got a bit.
It is my bit. So it was a theme. It was like a theme in a lot of 80s cartoon shows to have sort of a goofy side character who is often some sort of like pet or anthropomorphic sort of character who follow the protagonist around. And really their only real purpose on the show was to sell more plush toys, or because a lot of 80s stuff was just, like kid shows were basically vehicles for toys and action figures and plush things for kids to buy.
There was a reason why most of it was sponsored by Mattel or Kenner. He-Man was a toy first before it was an action figure.
So you have a lot of these 80s shows that have these just sort of extraneous side characters. And one of the more annoying ones was from the Punky Brewster animated television show that I in particular hated. Even back when I was a little kid, he like drove me up the wall. And, I guess we probably should explain Punky Brewster because there might be people who don't know what Punky Brewster is. Because
Punky Brewster was one of those shows in the 80s that could only have existed in the 80s. It was about an orphan, kind of like an Orphan Annie situation, and she just gets discovered in an empty apartment by this curmudgeonly old white man.
Yep.
And then apropos
her and her dog.
Brandon. And he just adopts her. He's like 75.
Yep.
And adopts a child, and nobody seems to
says boo about it.
Nobody
They're like,
seems
that's
the least
cool.
bit concerned about.
And it's just about her and her friends' really stupid adventures, and they learn things every week and yada yada. And it was wildly popular in the 80s.
It was incredibly popular.
Probably not so much anymore. I mean, I don't really know that there would be many kids,
Although she was the first character that I saw on TV that had mismatched socks. And mismatched socks are huge right now. Fidget spinners and mismatched socks.
Well, they didn't have fidget spinners back in the 80s.
But she had mismatched socks.
She did. That was like a big thing, and my mom would never let me do it because she said it looked stupid. But I mean, props to my mom. Fair. Props to my mom. She knew what was best for me.
Unlike your perm.
No, she let me make that mistake myself.
I
was old enough at that
bridge.
When I was 8 or 7 or 8 when that mistake was made, and obviously, at that age you have to keep your kids from making dumb mistakes. But by the time you're 15, you can make your own mistakes. So she's like, "Go for it, idiot! You're gonna regret it." No, I'm not. I regretted it. 2 years later, I'm like, damn, she was right. Yeah, so Punky Brewster was the show, and they decided NBC decided that they wanted to
animate.
Yeah, because obviously it'll make more money, more views, more money, yada yada. So they decided to make an animated cartoon show. And for some reason, the concept of Punky Brewster for the cartoon show was just not enough.
It wasn't not enough for her to be this, living in this New York, one-bedroom apartment, sleeping on a couch with a 75-year-old white man and all of her Benetton flag of multiracial
Well, she eventually got
friends.
her own bedroom, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay, so fine. Maybe he slept on the couch.
He could be.
Suffice
I
to
don't
say,
know. It's been a while since I've seen that show.
In the 80s and 90s. Television was a little bit more structured because we had far fewer channels available to us all the time. So all the cartoons were jammed onto Saturdays. Saturday morning
cartoons was like, if you were a kid from the 80s and 90s, Saturday morning cartoons were the place to be. Mm-hmm. And obviously, the Punky Brewster introduced another character,
a magical space alien.
Wasn't he a magical space leprechaun or something?
I mean, well, he had magic, and I don't remember if it was a leprechaun, but he had magic, and he could do magic. Because that's what a lot of these idiotic cartoon character side grabs were. They were all magical, like Orco in He-Man. You had these 6 foot tall, divinely well muscled monster men, and then Orco, who
Yeah,
was
he's
this?
a leprechaun gopher according to the Wikipedia.
A leprechaun gopher.
Yep, he came from Shandun, a city at the end of the rainbow, and possesses various magical abilities.
Eat shit. Eat a dick. Eat a dick, world.
And he was fucking obnoxious. He had the most fucking obnoxious voice in the history of voices.
And guess who can do it?
Yeah, you can do it. I can't do it.
Okay, so, and he had this pidgin English way of speaking that was, so I'm guessing it was supposed to be endearing, and it
was just annoying.
It came off as irritating because he
Grating.
it was grating. So if you can imagine this poor fucking voice actor sitting alone in a room making the most obnoxious voice that you could, and speaking a script that people wrote with their minds down to their hands and into typewriters, and it would hello, Brandon Doggy. Brandon Doggy is Glomer friend for life. It was the
It was
worst.
so bad. I just had flashbacks hearing that too.
You had some PTSD, you had some Vietnam style flashbacks where you're hiding under the table. Oh God. Yeah, and Orco was basically the same voice, and then we had Snarf on the Thundercats.
God,
Snarf, because they were all the Snarf. He wasn't even magical. He was just a burden. He was.
Yeah, he was like Fat Gilligan.
Yes, he was.
He was like fat furry Gilligan.
Like, oh, okay, so here's this thing, this
consistently ruining everything. Like Snarf consistently ruined everything for everyone. He was always in the way, always doing dumb shit that got people in danger.
And if he babysat a piece of equipment, he would inevitably destroy it or allow it to get to fall into the hands of the beast.
Moron.
He was the worst.
I think that Darwin should have just done its work, and they should have just let him die.
Oh yeah, they should have not pulled him from the fiery wreckage of the Thunder Cruiser.
Just leave him in there. It's for the best. No one's gonna complain.
Snarf, Lion-O!
Oh, God.
Lion-O, Snarf!
Can you imagine living with that?
Burning.
Think about that for a minute. Think about having to live 24/7 with that thing in your life.
You let that thing sleep in your room so that it could snore in the middle of the night.
Snarf!
Yeah, no.
Snarf, snarf!
I would just like quietly, like when they're
Push
all
a
asleep at the
pillow over
campfire.
its
No,
face.
just at a campfire, just quietly everybody leaves.
Just walks away silently.
Just
and
walks
leaves it.
away silently and nobody ever
ties him-
talks about him again. That would be my idea.
Just ties him to a tree and then we don't speak of it. We just
don't speak of it ever f***ing again.
Hey, Panthro, did you ever find out what happened to Snarf? Snarf, his name doesn't ring a bell. But I think I've got some of him in my teeth. They should have just eaten him.
Oh my God, you should have.
They should have renamed
They don't tell Lino though. Like, where did we get this meat from?
They did.
This
is tasty, but there's not a lot of meat on these bones.
And they're like, yeah. Tiger's just like, yeah. Say, where did Snarf go? No idea. Must have gone.
You must have had a dream. We've never had a Snarf.
He must have went to get some berries.
It was a dream. You never had a dog. You never had a Snarf. We
You
sent
never
him
had a
away to live
Snarf.
on a farm. He chases raccoons all day. He's fine.
But this actually hit like its apex, I think, with the real
You mean it's
Ghostbusters.
nadir.
It's nadir, yeah. Nadir is probably a better word for it. But yeah, it hit the nadir with the real Ghostbusters, which in and of itself, the original show was actually really fantastically fun. It delved into mythology and all sorts of really cool things. Like the original couple seasons were actually really, really cool. And then Slimer started to become a bit more prominent because they really liked selling toys.
Because, I mean, it started off with The Real Ghostbusters,
And then
they changed its name to The Real Ghostbusters featuring Slimer.
And then Slimer and the real Ghostbusters.
Slimer became top billed, and they would have like...
And I don't know why, because it's like I didn't know anybody who thought Slimer was the best part of that show.
Well, I mean, other than they could slap his goddamn goofy mug onto like the ecto cooler.
That's basically it.
That's basically it. Is they wanted, and he was literally like a green manifestation of the Ghostbusters logo, so that it's all branding. But I mean, I liked season 1 of The Real Ghostbusters, and this is going to get really nerdy because the voice of Peter Venkman was Lorenzo Music, who's got this velvety.
Well, I mean, everybody knows Lorenzo Music. It means the voice of Garfield.
Was the eternal voice of Garfield, and he was the voice of Peter Venkman in the season 1 of The Real Ghostbusters, and they had to call it that because there was already a cartoon show called Ghostbusters,
which let me tell you was fucking confusing.
Was really confusing when we would get the Montgomery Wards or the Sears catalog, and we would see like Ghostbusters merch. You had to look really closely to see if it had that goddamn gorilla in the hat.
I remember the one time where I saw it on like the programming. I'm like, oh, Ghostbusters. So I went and watched it. I'm like, what the fuck is? Why is that guy got aviator glasses on? What's this with this fucking monkey? Like, this isn't the Ghostbusters. What the fuck?
It was based on an old film.
An old God,
was
who
it
was
Don
it?
Knotts in it?
No, I don't think it was not Don Knotts. I think it was they were the same people who did the Banana Splits.
Oh, it was Hanna-Barbera?
Yeah.
Was it? All right. Well, we're
think
looking
so,
that.
yeah. Hold on.
That right the hell up.
Yeah, you look it up.
Because wow, yeah, I actually gotta. No, this is gonna be the worst part of the show.
Is the part where we look it up on the internet.
Boy, I really wish that I had somebody to read the internet to me. No, this is literally the worst thing that we could do with our time.
This is like the death. This is like death right here.
This is
We're
the
dying.
worst thing ever.